Hello everybody, welcome back to the Indescribable channel. I'm RK, and you know what the funny thing about 2025 is? It's really the year where my inner child can just thrive all year round. We got so many live action remakes and sequels of just all of my hyperfixations from when I was a kid. We got the Jurassic World sequel that's coming out. We had the Minecraft movie that came out earlier this year. We even have a second Five Nights at Freddy's movie coming out this winter. But you know what I'm ready to see? The live action remake of Lilo and Stitch. Now for those that don't know exactly what Lilo and Stitch is, it's a film where alien evil scientist Jumba Jookiba gets arrested for creating the genetic experiment 626, who's designed to be the ultimate killing machine. 626 escapes and lands on the Hawaiian island of Kauai, where he meets 6-year-old Lilo and becomes her dog, now named Stitch. Lilo and Stitch form an unbreakable bond and go on against the alien hunter Gantu as they fight to stay on the Earth as an ohana. Cute, right? Well, forget all of that, because we're going straight to Jumba. Stitch is experiment 626, meaning there are 625 other experiments Jumba has made. In the second film of the franchise, Stitch the movie, well, technically it's the third movie because they decided to make Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch has a glitch 2 years after Stitch the movie, but a release date is technically the second. We find that Jumba actually brought all 625 experiments with him before being kidnapped by Gantu and Jumba's old work partner, Dr. Jacques von Hamsterville. The film concludes with Jumba being rescued and all the experiments being hurled and activated onto Kauai, leaving Lilo and Stitch to rehabilitate all of them before they can destroy the world, which becomes the plot for the Disney Channel series, Lilo and Stitch the Series. Now that I caught you all up, here's the video. I want to find out which experiment is the most realistic. And I'm not saying which one could realistically be genetically engineered like how Jumba does, because let's be honest, it's more like alien mumbo-jumbo sci-fi stuff. I'm talking about which one could naturally and realistically exist as an animal that has evolved today. Now stick with me as we go through all 630, and fight Disney with science, or at least as much as we can with online research. Now, the first wave of experiments was the hardest. I had to go through every experiment, which was easier said than done. For those that don't know, Disney didn't actually explain all 630 experiments, only actually showing about 126 of them in filmed shows in the anime. So I had to figure out what to do, and that's when I found a small website that in fact has a full list of functions and names. The only thing is that it's most likely fan-made descriptions and everything like that, but this is the closest thing I could find to getting a list this detailed, so I used it as my main source for the first wave. I'll link the site in the description and you can let me know if I should redo this theory or not. Anyway, since you're into the description, have you considered subscribing yet? You know it's cool to subscribe, right? Anyways, once I found it, I had to go through every function and design to decide which ones could plausibly work and which ones definitely could not. When Jumba made the experiments, he organized them into different categories based on their assigned numbers. The zeros being the test batch, the hundreds being the civic disturbances, 200s tech and science, 300s psychic, 400s military, 500s elementals, and then the 600s the doomsday experiments. And thankfully this wave was so much easier to eliminate than the next few waves. Experiment 001, shrinks things, can't do that. 102, stop, go, a traffic light, that's not how animals work. 199, nosy, snoops out enemy secrets but ends up finding out gossip. Animals can't talk, he's out of here. 221, sparky, electrical surges and turns into electricity, nope. 300, spooky, shapeshifts into fears, not how that works. 479, Lotta, duplicates a lot of things and a lot of things can't duplicate. 502, Yang, shoots lava out of his back. And then we go to the sixes. 611, Elfin, designed to make the universe implode. Do I even need to explain it? And sadly, experiment 626, Stitch, the ultimate killing machine, just cannot exist. And with that, we crossed out 591 experiments from the first wave. Ooh. You do not believe how long it took for me to go through every single one and figure out which ones could work and which ones couldn't, leaving us with 39 experiments left. Now this wave was for a scientific justification of why they do their function. Take for example experiment 002, double dip, who double dips. We could try to justify this as an instinctual thing, similar to squirrels burying nuts for the winter. Or Experiment 450, Sapsucker, who sucks sap out of trees, which mammals such as the pygmy marmoset does as a primary food source. We also have Experiment 565, Phosphor, who's designed to make everything glow with luminous paint. Now mammals can't exactly glow except for the fun feature of biofluorescence, where some mammals under UV lights give off a colorful glow in their fur. This was enough of a plausibility to get these guys to the next round. We then have some experiments that could kind of be justified with more in-depth research, but it's more of a stretch to actually get them across the finish line, such as Experiment 323, Hunka Hunka, who makes people fall in love. If animals were able to have a natural aphrodisiac that could transfer to humans through the bloodstream via peck, then Hunka Hunka would be able to continue. The same goes for Experiment 347, Slobber, who dribbles drool. Slobber is a perfect experiment to continue, except he is described as a lizard-like experiment that can be found in the Disney Adventures magazine. The only problem is, reptiles are not exclusively bipedal, where Slobber is, and that took me to a different thought process. Can mammals look reptilian? So I did some looking around and I came across a Synapsida, which didn't really help because it was a mammal-like reptile and not a reptile-like mammal. But I wanted you to see where my thought process went for this experiment, which is where we also have experiments like 390, Slimy, who is a ginormous slug, but the largest slug, the Limax maximus, can only be as large as 7.9 inches or 20 centimeters, making Slimy, who is at the least 4 feet large, impossible for his given design. 469, Jitters, is meant to make you very jittery and nervous, which unless an animal can manipulate your fight or flight instinct with its brain, won't make it on this wave either. We then go to wave 3, leaving us with 12 remaining experiments. Here I had to get even more nitpicky, with much more evolutionary focus to the experiments, taking us to double dip being eliminated. Only because mammals and marsupials can't be blue. We then have Experiment 231, Sprock, who spits a lot. He's eliminated mainly because animals don't do that unless it's a self-defense attack, something mammals other than llamas don't do, and from all the designs, the experiments don't take on llama-like traits. It's also a similar thing going for 240, Sap, who leaves a sticky residue everywhere they walk. There's no evolutionary benefit to where it would make sense, eliminating both of them. We then go over to 357, Downs, who is naturally depressed. Though that is a trait animals can have, it is not something that is a natural or instinctual trait, and therefore can't be passed down through evolution. 532, Strata, who electrocutes with her antenna, can't do her only function because mammals don't have the biology to do that. Electric eels have 3 organs that produce the electricity they use, and that is something mammals cannot have unless it was done all the way at the beginning of their evolution, which even then would regardlessly go away because when you're in the water you can electrocute better, but that is not something land animals need, essentially. And going into the primary function category, we go to Phosphor, who even though biofluorescence is the first half to its function, the second half is not possible because it cannot spread the biofluorescence with a paint-like substance. And the same lastly goes to Sapsucker being eliminated as well, only because its function is to drain the sap from trees, which unless Sapsucker has a very high metabolism and needs to suck a whole tree for nutrients, it isn't enough to fulfill the function. We now see our 5 remaining experiments. Here we keep the ones that stay truest to evolution as well as the design and function. 222 Poxy is designed to be a virus, 223 Glitch is designed to be a computer virus, 298 Cat is a pet, 489 Huggo is designed to squeeze the life out of a person, and lastly 562 Hardy is designed to have a hard shell. Immediately we have to eliminate Cat, only because animals have to be trained/domesticated in order to be a pet, something that cannot naturally occur in the wild. Huggo is also out because cephalopods, based on his design, cannot live out of water how Huggo does, and even though Hardy technically can have a hard shell, I'm taking Jumba's intent for the design for the experiments, which is making them weapons, meaning Hardy cannot have a shell that can be used for combat, leaving us with our final 2! It all comes down to this. 3 weeks of research for this moment. Who will win? Poxy or Glitch? The answer for who is the most realistic experiment is Poxy! Although both are incredibly similar, Glitch is just a hair less likely to exist. Though he is a computer virus, he is able to physically travel between devices with a form that is most likely energy, meaning he cannot exist through our guidelines. Experiment 222 Poxy is a virus, just that, a single-celled virus. According to the Lilo and Stitch fandom wiki, Poxy acts like a virus and can enter a victim's body, causing the host to suffer from purple pimples, smelly feet, a swollen right eye, and uncontrollable burping. He can also split his body and bend it around with no effort, implying that he may be a single-celled organism. He displays no need to breathe without air once inside his host, presumably because he filters the oxygen from the host's blood. He is a virus, and a virus is one of the more fascinating things in evolution that can just exist without being detected. And it could be saying like how we have some of the other experiments involved where they need to be evolved through natural evolution and stuff like that. Poxy doesn't need that. He can just exist. He is a cell. He can just be from an undiscovered animal or a microorganism underwater that we just have not found yet, making him the most realistic thing. And the only time where I would say he isn't realistic is when at the end of his own episode he's made bigger, but that is only because Lilo and Stitch use a machine to make him bigger, meaning his original form is microscopic. And so I gotta say, Poxy wins. So there you have it. Poxy wins, and I'm going to spend a lot of money to go see the Lilo and Stitch movie. If you have any comments or theories of your own, let us know in the comments, and maybe we'll talk about it. Who knows? We might even do a part 2 of this if we find more evidence for experiments. Once again, I'm RK, and thank you for watching.